It's been a week, a little more than a week after thugs, slugs, lowlifes entered a synagogue and snuffed out the lives of 4 holy men and injured several others. The reason why they did this is obvious. They are being taught hatred. And I don't know if we can reach out to our Arab cousins, to our Islamic brothers, to realize just what they are doing. The call that was repeated in Al-Aqsa Mosque for the destruction of America and destruction of Western life is at the core of Islamic thinking. But Islam is a contradiction. From one side it preaches modesty and virtue, on the other side it is filled with hate and passion, and tries to make that which is totally immersed in selfishness, to make it into something virtuous. Human sexuality is exploited by business people in the West, but is also something that is held in a very, very high level of attention by people in Islam. There's a reason why the martyrs are promised 72 virgins. The images of the Prophet having many wives and going to whichever wife and whichever concubine he wanted is something that's very well known by the faithful. If there would be a Jewish priest, or if there would be a Jewish rabbi who would behave this way, he would be considered a lowlife. Say, well, King David had 18 wives. King David was a man of war. He was not the man of the cloth. But Solomon had 1,000 wives. Solomon is criticized for it. The total focus of Muhammad with his passions, in his wars and in his innuendos, leave us with an image of a man who had little scruples. He preached virtue, but that's what he preached to others. When it came to himself, he was very self-indulgent. I know I'm going to be accused of dishonoring the Prophet. He was a great teacher. He changed a lot of people's minds into focusing on a different purpose in life. But there are a lot of factors in his teachings which need to be modified. If Muslims wish to become part of the fabric of humanity, they will have to modify their message. The message of hatred for other people who do not believe as you do, the hatred between themselves, which makes the Hatfields and the McCoys look like little child's play. The hatred that causes the deaths of tens of thousands of Muslims every year by murders in all different kinds of ways. That hatred has got to stop. What can we Jews do about it? Muslims will not engage in a meaningful discussion with Jews because they claim that we hate Islam so much that we changed our books. Now I'm looking at the camera and I'm telling you, our books cannot be changed. We can't even change a letter. If a letter is changed in our holy book, it is not kosher. And our book has been around for 2,000 years more than the Quran has been around, and has been translated into other languages more than 1,000 years before Muhammad walked this earth. So, how can you say such a stupid thing? Reasonable people have to take control and have to become different. But what is it that we Jews have to do? My initial reaction to the deaths of the 4 rabbis was that we have to arm the population. And that still goes. The population has to become better armed. There has to be at least several people in every synagogue who know how to use a gun in case a terrorist comes in. They should be fearful of walking among Jews. We should not be afraid of terrorists. Terrorists should be afraid of Jews. We must arm the populace. And we should not be afraid. And anybody who throws a Molotov cocktail or throws rocks should be shot in the kneecaps with live ammunition. The first one who throws a rock becomes a cripple for the rest of his life. And that's what you have to tell them. We will shoot at your legs and you'll be crippled. That's what you get. We can't be compassionate in this, because the net result of all of this is chaos, murder, and total disarray, and eventually war. It's not good for the Arabs that we treat them so nicely. I don't mean cut off water, cut off electricity. I mean when somebody's inciting violence, that person should immediately be expelled from the country. If you incite violence, like that Arab that was quoted on the Jewish press, then that person has lost his right to be in Israel. Given the state of affairs now, that's what emergency power should be. Not just knocking off the houses after the fact, but anybody who is inciting violence has lost his right to be in the country. But on a spiritual note, we also have to get stronger. And the first element of strength is Ahavas Yisrael, loving your fellow Jew like you love yourself. And that includes sharing the mitzvah of tefillin with as many Jews as possible. And I have to do that as well as every single Jewish male should do that. Share the mitzvah of tefillin with another Jew. And we also have to write Sifrei Torah, because each letter of a Torah is a protection for the one who commissions that letter. And then we have to look out at the world and think about how we can make this world a better world. I don't mean by tolerating people who hate you and people who teach children to kill you. We must expose this. We must say that this is unacceptable. We will not fund this. We will not send electricity to such places. We will not send water to such places. However, people need to live. People need to feel that they're cared for. People need to feel that they're important. And that's the major problem within the Islamic community. They're unemployed, and the only way that they can get attention is by being deviant and violent. And therefore we have to find a way to engage that loneliness, that despair, and come up with a better plan. And God will help us, and we will make this world and Israel a peaceful place.